This is the instructions for the 2025 Annual Simple Budget from Confident Coin. This is the same spreadsheet as the Simple Budget. It just has the 12 months done for you and organized in the spreadsheet. The instructions are the same. The only thing that will be different is that you do not need to duplicate the month tabs, as they have already been duplicated for you and connected to the annual summary tab. When you first open up the spreadsheet, this is the first tab we will want to navigate to. It is the setup tab. The first thing that you will do is enter in your currency in C9. So double click, type your currency and press enter. And then we will choose our budget start month. So double click, pop-up calendar will show up, and then use the arrows to navigate to the month that you would like it to start in and choose the first of that month. Once you've completed that, you will enter in the categories for your budget. So you will click under each column, type and press enter. You don't need to fill them all in, and you can always come back later and add more when needed. And then optionally, you can enter in your accounts. So you will enter in the account name and a starting balance. It doesn't need to be the actual account name. It can be a nickname or a code name, whatever makes you feel comfortable. And then you'll want to enter in the balances. When it comes to credit cards, if you have a negative balance or you're carrying a balance on your card, for example, you got your last statement and let's say it was $1,375, you'll want to enter it as a negative value. Alternatively, if you don't have a balance and maybe you have a credit on your credit card, say you overpaid last month, you can enter it in as a positive number. Next, we are going to go to the annual summary tab and update our savings goal for the year and our debt payoff goal. To do this, you will click on cell P11 and enter in the saving goal amount. And the same thing for your debt payoff. And then once you've completed that, we will move over to the budget. So to set up the budget, the first thing that you're going to want to do is enter a start and an end date. This is the period that the budget will track and calculate your spending. So to do that, you will double click, use the date selector to select the date, and repeat the process for the end date. It is important that you consider whether or not your dates overlap each other, as you could be like double counting expenses depending on whether or not the dates overlap. Once you have entered in the budgets, you can see that the month automatically updates at the top for you based on the start date of the budget. There is a row here under your budget summary to enter in any rollover. So if you have any rollover income you wanted to add, you would put it in your budget section. And then once you know what it actually is, you would put it in the actual column. So let's just say, there we go. After you do that, under each of the categories of the budget, you will use the drop down to select a category to add that to your budget, and then enter in the amount you are budgeting or expecting to earn or spend in that category. And then you will just repeat this process for all of the items that you want included in your budget for this time period. This is an example with a budget that's filled in. You can see that there's several different categories, and then we can also see that the charts at the top have filled in as well. Once you have completed your budget, you can start logging your transactions for the month. So to log your transactions, you will go to the Transactions tab, and the way that it works is that you will double click under the date column, type in a description if you want, and then if it's a charge or a withdrawal from the account, you will enter in the amount. If it's a deposit instead, you would do that. Use the drop down to select the category. And then if you are using the account balances, you can select an account that you spent that money from. And then finally, you can add any notes if necessary. So we can see here that we've spent the $150 in groceries. If we click over to our budget, we can see that we have spent the $150. All of this information will transfer over to your annual summary tab. This tab calculates all of the data that you have entered into the transaction log and combines it here by month. So even if you have a budget that spans over the end of the month or a start of month, for example, it will separate it by month. And so there's a breakdown of data at the top, including saving and debt payoff progress, a category breakdown, and then annual spending by month and by category. So we'll switch over to an example so that you can look at that in more detail. So one of the features of this annual summary is that it has a category breakdown and comparison. So if you wanted to compare two different categories in your budget, maybe let's say it's groceries to dining out, you can see here how much you've spent for dining out versus groceries and when you've spent that money. And then in addition, you can see a monthly breakdown in terms of where you've spent that money. If you are using the accounts feature and you want to transfer money between accounts, I will explain that now. So let's say that you want to pay the $650 due on your credit card from account 1. To do that, you can enter the date you do it, enter a description, and then is it a charge, so a payment or a withdrawal from your account, or is it a deposit? So this is the transfer payment, so it's going to be going out. So we'll put the $650. It's coming out of account 1, and the category will be transfer out. We will repeat the process, and we will do transfer in to credit card 1. Then we can see that the money is taken out of account 1 and has paid off our credit card. You do not need to assign categories if you don't want to, though it can be helpful for you to understand what's happening with your transactions. Just remember that a charge means a withdrawal and a deposit means a payment. So that is the instructions for the simple budget spreadsheet from Confident Coin. If you have any questions, please let us know, as we would love to ensure that you're getting the most out of your spreadsheet. Thanks for watching.